Good morning, gifted crafters. It's crafting time.
Me and my friends are having a great time. It's not face to face, it's all online. We're all in our homes, miles away. Love them like my family, what can I say? My crafting show is on, it's my time for me. Laughter, tips and tricks, this is what I need. We're here to have fun, we're all in the zone. When crafting with friends, you're never alone.
Live from the Sunshine State in Miami, Florida, here is the Gifted Crafters Morning Show with Nancy.
Let's have a good time. Ooh, time to get our craft on. Ooh, time to have fun. Ooh, time to feel good.
Good morning, Gifted Crafters, and welcome back to the Gifted Crafters Morning Show. Good morning out there. We've got people tuning in from all over the place, so let's say a quick hello to those that are out there. I see Faker McFake from Louisiana. Good morning to you. Jackie Hallman from Pennsylvania. Good morning to you as well. We've got Joyce Adams. Good morning. Renee Mayer, good morning. JBL from Alabama, good morning. And from Richmond, Illinois, we've got Lisa Lilly. Good morning to you guys. I am tuning in from Miami, Florida. And if you're tuning in for the first time, my name is Nancy with GiftsHQ, and this is a channel where we talk about anything crafting, from sewing, quilting, crochets. We do demos. We do all kinds of fun stuff together. Just think of this as a nice little place that you can gather with your friends and talk about the things that you love to do. So that's exactly what you do. And if that's something that you're into, you are definitely in the right place. Go ahead and put your name in the chat, especially if you're here for the first time. Say hello to your friends, and we have a wonderful community that will welcome you. And if you ever get stuck with some projects or some things that you're working on along the way, we're here to help you out. So go ahead and say hi and leave us some comments and things just so we can interact with you more. Now, guys, I had a pretty hectic morning this morning. It was kind of started off by being woken up by loud crashing noises. So that was not fun. So I'm a little bit out of sorts this morning. So if you see me kind of jumping away a little bit, we do have some neighbors that are redoing their roof. So they are now kind of taking off their old roof and their ceramic tiles. And as they fall and crash to the ground, you might hear a little thump going on. So I'm letting you know there's a lot of construction going on behind me here. My neighbors are behind us over here. So you really might hear a lot of things crashing and things. Now, Mr. H has the noise suppression on, and I think it's handling it pretty well. So maybe you guys don't hear it, but yeah, we certainly hear it. So if you see me jump a little bit here every now and then, it's just because that's just been my morning. I literally jumped me out of bed, and you know, we're just kind of dealing with it. So what I was hoping was going to be a nice, quiet Monday has turned into a really big construction. going on here. And so my nerves were kind of a little on edge here. So hopefully we will get through this live with no issues. They started super early this morning, which is understandable because we're in Miami and it gets really, really hot. So for the workers that are up on a roof with this heat, they have to get a really early start so that they can get as much work done without the sun being out full blown. So do not blame them. Totally understandable. Just not what I was expecting today. So it's fine. We'll deal with it. We're just going to roll with it because that's what we do, right? But as Mr. H would say, it is what it is, right? It is what it is. It is what it is. We just roll with it. So, okay. So good morning to you guys. Good morning, Marge and Cindy from Michigan. Good morning. Wonder Twins Creation. Good morning to you. Susan, Jenny, Barbara from Ohio. Good morning. We've got Cheryl from Wisconsin. Good morning. And thank you guys all for tuning in. Yay, our friends from Canada are here as well. Yay. Okay, so let's get started because, yeah, like I said, I'm a little jumpy this morning, a little nerve-wracking when I hear those crashing sounds because my AC unit is right back there too. So, you know, just hoping that nothing goes wrong because no AC in Miami is not going to be a fun day. All right, so let's kind of get started with our toast, shall we? So if you guys are tuning in for the first time, you know I always like to start my channels with a little toast. So grab yourself a cup of whatever it is you have in the morning, coffee, tea, soda, water, it really doesn't matter here. And I like to start my day with some ice cold water just because that's how I roll, right? So I'll start off with the water and then I'll move over to the coffee or the tea or whatever it is that I like to have. So let's go ahead and grab yourself a cup. If you don't have one, no worries, I'll pour you a cup. So we're gonna go ahead and start that off. Let's raise our glasses to a more peaceful day today. So I hope that all of you guys out there are gonna have a nice peaceful day and be able to craft in your craft room. So everyone have a great day. Hopefully this day will get even better, right? So let me grab a couple of swivels here. Yes, cheers, Barbara. I think I'm gonna need a second one after this morning. Okay. Oh boy, really needed that one. Been running around outside because they were knocking on my door and they needed access to be able to pass over in case they drop some tiles this way. So they've got those ceramic tiles. So again, you might hear that thundering sound as they crash down to the floor, but hopefully it won't be too bad. Yes, coffee, please. Today is a holiday. Yes, it is a holiday. You are correct. It is Columbus Day. Yes. So hopefully, you know, it'll get a little quieter. No quiet on your end. You don't hear anything, Susan? Oh, awesome. Great. Okay. Yeah, because he's got that noise suppression on. So hopefully, you know, you usually don't hear the birdies, my little parakeets back there. Their cages out in the living room over there, and they're chirping away at this time because they just woke up. So they're demanding their breakfast and stuff, all their fun stuff. So my son Herman's taking care of that. He's got that duty to change their water and give them their breakfast. But you can't hear those with the noise suppression on. So I just wasn't sure if that was going to happen with the roof stuff because it is quite loud as the stuff starts crashing down. Okay, so let's see. Oh, Susan's asking me a question. Have you ever used a flatbed yarn knitting machine? I have not, Susan. But the Reed, let me see if the name escapes me, LK150, Silver Reed, LK150 is an awesome machine. I've been eyeing that one for a while. I would love to do that. Yeah, I do the circular knitting machines with the Addies and the Centros, but the flatbed machine, I haven't gotten to that yet. Been eyeing on it, right? Been eyeing it. Yeah, hint, hint for Mr. H, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, hint there, you know. But hey, you know, this just reminded me, this is an exciting week, guys, right? I think something's going to be happening soon. Oh, that's right. It is Thanksgiving today in Canada. Well, happy Thanksgiving to you guys, and hope you guys have a fantastic day. That's right. It is a holiday there as well. Awesome. Okay. Yay. Good morning, Bob. How are you? And welcome. Okay. So yeah, I do love knitting. And as I said, this channel does a little bit of everything. We do the knitting, crocheting, we do quilting and sewing as well. And we just have a fantastic time. But welcome to everyone who, no matter what craft you do, you know, we always have a lot of fun things to do. So one of the things, good morning, Becky, one of the things that we do is I also look out for different products, and we like to test them out and talk about them and see if we're going to like them or not, right? Okay, so let's get right to it. So we've already had our toast. Why don't we go out and get our snacks? Because I'm sure, you know, the birdies have to have their breakfast in the morning, and I'm sure you guys are really hungry as well. So let's go ahead and let's see what we can find for our food truck. I think that one's going to be rolling around here. And I think the cat and dog are back here, and we kind of threw some names around, but I haven't really ironed that down yet, and I got to get to that. Probably do that this week. So food truck's gonna have everything that you'd like. Everything is free, so go ahead and grab your croissants, muffins, coffee, tea, donuts. We've also got carrots and kale for the healthy folks out there. And there's our little pair here. Our little doggy and cat come to give you some extra stuff. So hope you guys enjoyed that and grabbed all your snacks and are ready to go. So go ahead and get yourself into your nice little cozy spot or a nice little safe place to watch. And let's get going. Yeah, blueberry muffins for Faker McFake. Yes, we definitely have those. Awesome. Good morning. Good morning to Joyce and Demetric. Good morning to you. Awesome. Okay, so today we want to kind of talk about, I'm going to show you my finished item from last week, and then a couple things I want to show you that I have here. We do have a crafting news story, but let me just kind of give you a quick summary of what we're going to be talking about. So we went ahead and we finished a nice little wall hanging last week, and so I finished it up, and I've got my quilt top all finished and ready to go. And the next step for this is to go ahead and create my little quilt sandwich and quilt it and bind it, right? And if I'm going to put some borders on it, I can do that too, although the pattern didn't call for it, but you certainly can do that if you wanted to. When I thought about that whole process, it reminded me I did have another project that was sitting out there that got done but never got quilted. And so what I'm going to try to move towards is doing some edge-to-edge quilting. But before we do all of that, we have to baste all our stuff together. And I wanted to kind of demo a couple different ways of basting and things and products that you can use. So I'll demo a couple of those, show you some different brands that I have from my stash, and just kind of walk through the different techniques and pros and cons and things that you're going to need when you're doing that process. So we'll go through all of that in just a second. So before we do that, let's go ahead and go over to our crafting news, because I do have one story that I'd like to share with you guys. And now this story is about a beautiful celebration of creativity and community, and it is from Chilliwack, British Columbia in Canada. Yes, and this is where the Chilliwack Quilters Guild is marking 40 years of quilting together. Their big anniversary show, 40 Years of Quilting Creations, will be held on October the 25th and the 24th and the 25th at the Chilliwack Alliance Church. Now, the guild started way back in 1985, where 3 quilters decided that their town needed their own quilting group. So they started a small started off very small, but their passion then grew really quickly. And today, the Guild has over 100 members, and their quilts have even been displayed all over the world. So isn't that amazing? Now, the anniversary is going to feature 200 quilts, including award-winning pieces, vintage designs, and special displays honoring founding members. They're going to have demos, a merchant's mall, and even a tea room to help fund the trip to Japan. Isn't that pretty amazing? Now, beyond, of course, all their stunning quilts, the Guild gives back in many heartful ways, and they're donating handmade quilts, stockings, placemats, and heart pillows to local charities and hospitals. So that's really a really beautiful reminder of how when crafters kind of come together, they don't just stitch fabric, they stitch a lot of love, a lot of friendship, and just a lot of community that really lasts for generations. So I think that, that's really a beautiful story of how you can kind of get started and, leave a legacy of crafters behind that really love and make a difference in our community. So I think that's just truly, truly amazing. So I wanted to share that with you. So let's kind of move on now, as I hear the crashing going on in the back. Okay, so we're moving on. So to our project from last week, I'm going to show you the end result. See if I hold it up the right way. So this is our finished block or wall hanging, I should say, right here. Ta-da! That's our finished project from last week, and I think it came out absolutely amazing. I really love the way this got pulled together. We had a couple of struggles on here if you've been watching. So we had a couple issues where we had a different charm pack and it just wasn't cutting it. And this, I am so, so happy that I've changed the fabric that we were using. It's just a much better result and it really pops and really eye-catching. And I really love the way it came out. So the topper is all done and you can see the back here. We've got all of our seams meeting and you can see all the seams are ironed down in the one direction. And I like to do that. And just you can see how all the seams are coming over this way. So I think that really helps when you line up and make your seams and take your time in doing the project. It really helps it out to come out really beautiful. But I thought it's gorgeous. I really love the way it looks. I love the colors on it. And I think it's ready for some quilting now. And so this is ready to go. I thought about putting some borders around it, but I just don't want to take away from this center where your eyes kind of focus. So I think I'm just going to go ahead, do some backing and just some binding and call it a day. So yeah, very cheerful. I really love red. Is one of my favorite colors. So yeah, it's really, really nice. Yeah, you love the red and white, Lisa. Yeah, I think it came out gorgeous. I really, really love it. So what I want to do now is go ahead and we're going to baste this. We're going to make basically our quilt sandwich, and then we're going to start doing the binding around it. But as I thought about that process and how I want to do that, I remembered that I had another project that I never finished. And so I wanted to kind of bring that out and see if I can do these kind of at the same time. So let me set this one over to the side. So this is one that I started this a while ago and I never got to finish because of course, you know, life happens, right? And this one, it's called Happy Harvest. It's by Timeless Treasures. And it's just a panel, and I'll bring it over to our desktop cam here. It is just a panel, and give me 1 second because I've got some stuff underneath. There we go. Okay, so it's just the one panel here, and then you add the border to it. Super simple to do, very, very nice. I've got this a while ago. I believe it's still available, but it's kind of over a year old already, so I'm not sure. You can try looking for it. Just type in, it's Timeless Treasure. It's called Happy Harvest, but it's just a panel, and you can do this with any panel, just adding the border around it and then going ahead and quilting it. And so I have this here, and I did manage to put the quilt behind it. And as you can see, it's not basted, okay? All I did was just put the quilts underneath, and I kind of just folded it and put it away. So it's not basted, and what I mean by basting means it's not like tacked on to this. So this can easily come off, and the batting can come off. I did not attach the backing. The backing I do have here as this is the fabric that will play as the backing, so it's nice and complementary to this, which is great. It's just a matter of putting it together, right? So let me just pull this out so you could see it. See, it is quite large, so I'm gonna try to very, very simple and very easy to do. Not even sure why. I probably just, life got in the way, got so busy, and then I forgot all about it. But this is what it looks like here. Just don't mind the batting behind there. You can see that. Okay. Very simple, very pretty. And then I attached the borders here on here. I went ahead and attached that, and it's just this panel with the borders and some batting behind it. And then now I'm gonna go ahead and put the backing, and then I think we'll do some edge-to-edge quilting around this here and finish this off, because it's definitely something that needed to be finished off. But I noticed that, you know, none of this was attached, so I didn't baste anything together to hold it into place. So I'm gonna have to do that on here as well. But now when you think about basting it, there's a couple of different ways that you can do it. So we want to talk about that. So let's just fold this up here a little bit. Okay. And here's the little border strips. So I got some binding strips. So it's the same, cut from the same fabric as the borders here is your binding. So really nice on that. So I have this all ready to go to be done. And so I figured, you know, if I'm going to do one, I might as well do the other. I will probably use two different designs, but I definitely want to kind of use this as an opportunity to get these two projects done. So in order to do that, I wanted to kind of take a look at the different methods of basting. So when you think about basting, for a lot of you who may be new to quilting, you are basically looking at what's called or referred to as a quilt sandwich. And you may hear that a lot, quilt sandwich.
Sandwich?
No, not that kind of sandwich. It's not a sandwich that you eat, honey. This is not lunchtime, and we are not going to be making a sandwich. You'll have to wait on that one. Gosh, man, all I think about is food. Food, and more food, right? I mean, really. So, no. So I'm just taking a very scrappy little piece of fabric here, and this is just fabric that I store on the side here that I get from the dollar store, and it's perfect for doing these little demo type things and, you know, playing around, using it for ends and leaders, you know, anything scrappy that you need. I like to kind of use that kind of fabric, and it really helps me out in using a fabric and not having to use something from my good stash, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and use this. Let's just say that this is going to be my backing. Let's just, for demo purposes, right? So we're just going to have this piece of fabric as our backing. And yeah, I can cut this down a little bit, but we'll just leave it like this for now. And then I'm going to put my piece of batting right here. And this is just a natural, this is heirloom batting. I think it's just a natural cotton batting that I have here. Nothing special, none of that specialized batting or anything like that. And then I'm just going to take another fabric here. Again, this is just a fat quarter, nothing special to this. Let's just pretend that this is going to be my topper. Okay, so this is what's called a quilt sandwich, is when you have your bottom, your batting, and your top, and you're wanting to put all three layers together. So that is considered your quilt sandwich. Now, there's different ways for you to keep this all together. So when you are basting, you've got options. Like when you are going to quilt this, you can either, if you're lucky enough to have a long arm, you'd put it on your long arm. If you're, you can quilt it with a regular sewing machine. You can just do lines or diagonals with your ruler, and we've seen and done that before. Or you can also do it with your embroidery machine and do end-to-end quilting, right? So there's lots of different ways that you can put this together. So I'm going to show you a couple different options. Some people also hand baste them together, right? And one thing you can do to keep all three layers together and not avoid them from shifting around is that you can just use pins. So Dritz has some pins. They're called Quilter brass basting pins, number 1466. I don't know if the number is really relevant to anything here, but let me open it up here so I can take one out and show you. Okay, of course they're all tangled on me. Here we go. So these are what the pins look like. Okay, and they come brass, they come silver, you know, it's whatever color you want to do. Whatever actually will be a nice offset to the fabric that you're using, right? Because if the colors that you're using, and let's say you put these brass pins, maybe they kind of blend in too much with the fabric, your top fabric, you won't be able to see the pins as well. So always try to, you know, if this is a problem, use the silver ones or use something that really helps you to be able to see them. So with these, you will just, of course, pin it just like you would anything else. You go ahead and you pin your top, your batting, and your backing on here. Oh, do we have a new person? You recently found my channel through the Centro Knitting Machine search. Well, good morning, visually impaired crocheter. Well, thank you for joining. We love to have new people here. I think it's awesome. So today we are going to be looking at basting though. So today, as I was saying, you guys can use the pins. That's one of the options that you have. But if you're doing something like edge-to-edge quilting, then you don't want to use the pins because you don't want to run over your pins with your machine, right? So that may be something that you may not want to use. So there are alternatives to that. And so there are plenty of things on the market like a quilt basting spray, and there's several ones out there. KK2000 is probably my favorite. Unfortunately, I ran out of it. So I need to order some more. But I did have this one here. This is June Taylor. It's a quilt basting spray. She's good as well. Not as environmentally friendly as KK2000, but this one does do a nice job as well. I have kind of used this in the past, but I wouldn't recommend using any kind of a spray-based quilting spray indoors where it's closed in. Like, I'd have an issue kind of using this because it just sprays all over, and you know, it's not good to inhale all that stuff. So not very good at that. So there are, once again, other options that you can use, and that doesn't involve a spray. Although KK2000 is pretty good in terms of a spray if you must use a spray. But I would still recommend to at least have that window open and make sure that you've got an environment where you get some fresh air coming through, because you don't want to inhale all that spray stuff, right? So the next thing that I'm going to show you are two products that I kind of want to compare side by side, and I think they're both pretty neat. So the first one is called Bo-Nash Fuse It Powder. This is one that's pretty popular out there, and I'll see if I can move some of this stuff. I'll kind of get these out of the way. I did pick up my little baggie. This was one of the things that I purchased at the expo. I got another rotary cutter. This one's Quilters Select. I always had the 60 millimeter, but I've had a hard time finding the 45. For some reason, it was always out everywhere I went. So I was happy to find this and nabbed it. So excited to have that. I really like these rotary cutters because I like the weight that they have on them. Makes it feel a lot better. And I like that it is left-handed and right-handed. So really, really neat on those. So just wanted to share that. So here is the Bo-Nash, and I'll kind of just keep these here over. And then the second item that I have is the Quilters Select Free Fuse. So these are two fusible powders that you can get that will work to kind of help you baste your items together. And I'll kind of move them down here a little bit so you guys can see that better. Okay, and so I want to kind of compare side by side to see if there are really any differences on here. Now, this is about 2 ounces. They're both about 2 ounces. And once I get this out of the box, you'll see that right here. This is what it looks like. Okay, right off the bat, you think, oh, wow, that's a lot more than 2 ounces. It's actually not. There's a lot more air in here than anything. So it is still just 2 ounces. So they both have the same size here. And let's go ahead and compare the two. So how do these fuse powders work? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to kind of peel this back, and I'm going to expose the batting on here. And so what you would need to do is basically just take your powders, and I'll go ahead and open these up. And let's see, I'm going to put it on this one here. So the first thing that I see when I open it up is with the Quilters Select Free Fuse, you have a lot more holes here. Makes me a little nervous that everything's just going to pour out when I try to shake this on here. Versus the Bo-Nash has a very tiny amount of holes. I hope you guys can see that here. And so I'm not sure if, you know, it will control it a little bit more, but I'm not sure how much is really going to come out of there. So I might have to shake a little harder on this one. So we'll see how it goes. I'm going to do Bo-Nash on one side, and let's see if I can kind of mark this. I will put a B on here, and I'm just kind of writing with a regular pen. Let me see if I've got a marker on here. This is just my scrap, so I'm not too worried about it. This might be better. Okay. B for Bo-Nash. And we'll do a Q for Quilters Select on this side, so we remember which one was which on here. Okay, all right, so let's go ahead and give these guys a try. So for the Quilters Select, like I said, this one has a lot more holes on here, so I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle this. And what this is, it's just a very light, and I'll kind of sprinkle some right on my hands here so you guys can see it. This is what it looks like. Can you guys see that? Tiny, 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 granular little pieces of glue adhesive is basically what this is. And I'm going to drop it right on here, so you can see how fine that is. Now, This is really comparable if you have, let's say, like SF101, like a fusible woven interface that you could use. Normally with those, you can feel the little glue dots on the other side, right? And I think I may have one to be able to show you. This one's kind of a smaller one that you can get. This is the ones that they sell at the dollar store, but it's very compatible in terms of how it works to those woven interfaces. You've got a woven interface here, right? And on one side of it, it feels very scratchy. And so those are the little glue dots that would then adhere to your fabric. So not sure if you're going to be able to see anything on here, but maybe you can see those tiny, tiny little dots. That is the glue adhesive that will adhere to your fabrics, right? So this powder kind of mimics what this interface is doing. Instead of course, you spraying it on and having that spray everywhere going onto your batting. Instead of using the spray, you would then use the powder. So let's go ahead and give this a try. So again, I'm a little nervous about the big holes, but as I kind of sprinkle this on here, I'm going to try to focus. I did already put a little bit here, so I'm just going to try to focus in one area so we can see how this really works. So it's going to be difficult for you guys to see it because of the batting, but I did show you what it looks like from my hand. So let me go ahead and sprinkle some on here, and it's kind of hard to see. It's like, am I getting any on here? I can't really tell. So I can kind of feel it with my hand, so I think we did. And so I'll sprinkle it again. And I think I see some falling onto my mat. So yes, I think I did get some here. So we should be good here. And then all I would need to do is cover up, put my quilt top right on top, and then you're going to run it through with an iron. So that is a difference between the spray. With the spray, you don't need your iron. You just spray it on and then put the top on top, and it will stick right to it. With the powders, you do have to use the powder, and then with an iron, the heat of the iron is going to melt those little tiny little crystals and adhere it to the fabric. Yeah, a lot of people like the powder as well. I like it only because of the fumes. You know, you don't have all those fumes all over the place. So it is quite nice to use that. And so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to heat up our iron over here so we can get this going, and you can see how well it will fuse to the batting and the fabric together. So let's go ahead and put this on my hook here, and I'm going to go ahead and turn this on. And so I am just going to be using a regular dry iron, no steam or anything like that, and we're just going to see how well this gets put together. So as you can see, oh, is the powder temporary adhesive? It is a temporary, it's semi-permanent. So if Quilters Select says it's semi-permanent. Now I'm gonna kind of demo, once I kind of adhere this together, we're gonna try to take it apart and see how well it does. Now another good use for some of this is not just basting your stuff together, right? Some of us as quilters, we like to do our applique. So normally with our applique, we would have heat and bond on the back of our fabric. So this is kind of another alternative to that if you also just wanted to kind of hold it in place, but you don't have any heat and bond. Maybe you ran out, right? And so you can kind of think about using something like this as a way to temporarily hold your applique in place while you're doing, let's say, a blanket stitch or whatever stitching you're doing to go around your applique. So something to think about as you are using these products here. You have multiple uses for it. It's not just for basting. So, okay, I think my iron is ready. It is nice and hot, so I do need to bring my board over, slide it underneath.
thought you were going to start ironing without the board.
No, I'm not ironing without the board. We're definitely going to need the board. So I did slide the board underneath here. We've got, again, our backing fabric on the bottom. We've got our batting, and we've got our topper here, and we sprinkled this side with the Quilters Select. So let's go ahead and iron this now and give it a nice little press. And we'll see how well it does. Now, one thing that you do want to do, and oh, I am sorry about that. What you should do, and I don't know where it went. I had a little piece of Teflon somewhere on here. Oh, there it goes. Sorry about that, guys. You should use your Teflon sheet. Put your Teflon sheet on top. I did kind of forget. It looked like it was fine anyway, but it is really nice to kind of protect your fabrics. So go ahead and press it with the Teflon sheet on top. And I think it is heating up pretty nicely. Iron, I think now it's really heating up. It was kind of cold still, but I think we got it now. Yeah, pretty hot now. Okay, we're good. Now we're rolling, right? The iron just needed a little bit of time. Okay. So, I'm going to remove that. And I would suggest you give it a couple of seconds. Just let it cool down a little bit before you start trying to pull it apart, because you just heated it up. So give it a few seconds for that adhesive to kind of melt. The heat of the iron is going to melt that, and it will stick to your batting. So I think it has cooled down a bit now, so just give it another few seconds. And then I'm just going to pull on this here and see if this is together. Now you can see the backing. We didn't do anything to the backing, so I can peel that away quite nicely, right? Now here's the batting. Of course, if I give it a big yank, and that's one thing that this is forgiving on, especially if you're doing applique. If I pull it, it's going to come off. But as you can see here, it's pretty stuck, right? It did do the adhesive nicely. Now, if I give it a bigger tug here, you see how my batting is kind of, now, so let me see if I can get this closer so you guys can see this. Move this over here. Let's go over to our desktop cam here. Okay, here's the backing. We didn't put anything here, so obviously nice and clean, comes off nicely. Here is where we have the adhesive. Can you guys see? I can feel some of the batting, and I am pulling it here. Can you guys, I don't know if you guys can see that. It's kind of hard to see, but you see a little bit of fuzz over on the fabric side is because you have some batting. How about there? Maybe see that a little bit better. Hold on, we're going to see if we can get, no, I think you can see it from here. Yeah, you can kind of see that here. So you can see here, comparison to this where you have just the clean fabric, right? On this side, we now have, there we go. We now have some of the batting on here because it's pulling from the inside of the batting because it already fused this. So you see you have some batting here. So it did fuse it very well, but I can kind of pull it, but I'm going to be pulling some of the batting and probably warping my batting, but it can be done. So remember, this is semi-permanent, right? So that's what the product is telling you. And just by pulling it like this, I can tell you, yeah, it is pretty semi-permanent because although I can pull it, I am leaving some of the batting here on this side. So if, let's say I made a mistake, let's say I was doing some kind of applique and I made a mistake, while you can pull it, you may see some of this on here. See that here? Got some batting on this side. So you do have to be kind of careful when you're placing this, but it did do a pretty good job in terms of basting it. right? The fabric is sticking to the batting. It's not moving. It's not going anywhere. Now, one of the things that's really nice, and here's where you kind of see the difference if you're doing applique and let's say you wanted to use heat and bond, right? So a lot of us are pretty familiar with heat and bond, right? So we've got heat and bond light, right, on the back of this. And so if you're doing your applique, you'll go ahead and you'll fuse this. And one of the things that I'm not a fan of about heat and bond is that once you fuse that, it makes it a little bit rough. So the fabric is not as it's not as flowy and drapey as it was when you first started, right? If you use batting adhesive, do you need to safely pin also? No. If you are using one of these powders or even the sprays, you don't need to use the pins. One of the things about the pins are nice to do if you don't want to use the powders or the sprays, but you have to be mindful as to where you have those pins, right? So you don't want that when you are quilting it, that it gets in the way of the machine and the needle accidentally hitting one of those pins. You can break a needle that way. So that's one of the downsides of pin basting. However, the pros to pin basting is that you're not using a spray or a powder. It's just, you know, kind of done naturally. You just have to be mindful of where you put that pins and be very careful that when you're quilting it, you know, you're not going to hit, ooh, sorry, another tile fell down. You're not going to hit your machine needles with that pin. So be very careful on that. If you want to use your embroidery machine to do the quilting for you, then you definitely would not use the pins. You would use either the sprays or the powders, right? So that's one thing here. But then when you're doing your applique, if you're using heat and bond to adhesive this together, it gets a little bit stiff. And so it kind of prevents the fabric from being very drapey. And so you get some of that stiffness when you're doing your applique. But it does do a great job. Heat and bond does a great job in terms of holding it in place so that then you can kind of come in and do your applique around it, right? So has its pros, has its cons, really depends what your project is calling for. And you have to kind of determine what the best product is to use for your particular project, right? So again, heat and bond adds a little bit of stiffness to your project, where using the powder may not add that stiffness to it. Okay, so I lost here's my other piece of fabric. It is just fabric, no heat and bond or anything on here. And so if I try to go ahead, and I can do that on another piece over here, let's do that, right? So I'm going to grab a corner that doesn't have any batting or anything on here. So grab this other corner here, and we're just going to take, let's flip it over. We're going to take this piece right here. Nothing behind it. I'm going to put my little heart on here. Let's just say I'm pretending that I wanted to do this little applique. I can go ahead, and I'm going to go ahead and use the same one, Quilter Select, and I'm going to sprinkle some of that on here. And then I'm just going to put my applique on top right here. And I'm going to try to make sure I didn't get any glue anywhere else. And so I only put the powder right here in the middle. So these flaps probably are not going to stick because I'm not putting anything on the sides here. So we just want to test how well it does here. So I'm going to go ahead and grab my piece of Teflon, put it right on top, and grab my little iron. Now we're going to see how well it puts the applique together. And then I want you to see how it looks like after we've already done the applique and put it on. We want to see how stiff the fabric is going to get on this. Okay. So that should be good enough. Let's remove the Teflon sheet and let it cool down just a bit. Let's help it out here. As you can see, I did not put any fusible powder on the side. So you can see right off the bat, this is lifting because there's no powder behind it. So you do have to be mindful as to where you kind of sprinkle this, right? And so here we are. Now, if I look at my applique, you can see here, can I really pull it off? Yeah, I probably can, especially it's still a little bit warm here. So I'll wait for this to cool just a little bit longer. But you can see here, it's pretty stuck on. Like, it's not really gonna move anywhere. You can see here I have it a little bit more. Now, can I rip it off and do it again? Absolutely, let's do that. I'm gonna pull it all the way off. And you can see there's no residue that's left behind here, which is really nice. So let's say you're doing applique and you made a mistake as to where you were positioning it and you want to redo it, you can just pull it up. So while it is semi-permanent, the batting, because of the fibers of the batting, it's really going to be difficult to kind of pull it together. But if you're doing applique, this is really a nice product to be able to reposition things if you need to. So here, I'm going to go ahead and reapply it without sprinkling anything else on here. Let's see if this will stick again. So I'm going to go ahead and press the heat on again. And let's see here. It did re-stick. It did re-stick. So could you miss the applique and put the powder on it? You could probably do very, very light, but I wouldn't recommend it because you don't want to wet it, because that may kind of mess with the glue itself and it may not adhere very well. So if you do, it would be super, super light. They don't tell you to do that in the product. It's just a matter of sprinkling it and hitting it with the heat. The heat of the iron is what's gonna melt those little crystals and fuse it together. So if you're putting water, that's gonna dilute the actual adhesive, and it really is not gonna be a great mix. And I'm not sure you want to do that. But you can definitely, use the powder, use this Teflon sheet to put that together. But I wouldn't recommend misting it. Now, you can see here, it's pretty well stuck together, right? Not sure if you guys could see that. It is picking it up and stuck. So really nice, but again, you can take it off if you need to and reapply. So really nice for applique. Okay, so now let's move over to the next one, because we did do Quilter Select on one side and we still have the B for the Bo-Nash on the other. So let's take a look at the second powder. So the second powder here, go ahead and close this up. For the second powder, I have the Bo-Nash, and let's sprinkle some on my hand to see what it looks like. Okay, wow. I just shook it just a little bit and a whole bunch came out. And so this is what it looks like. Again, very granular, right? Very, very granular here. But I just did a tiny shake and a whole bunch came out. So with the Quilter Select, you had to kind of give it more of a shake, even though you had more holes on it. This one has very little holes, gave it a tiny shake and a whole bunch came out. So you do have to kind of be careful, and I'm just going to use this to sprinkle it on here. And I'll just do a few more. Just sprinkle it on to the batting, okay? Again, we're going to cover this up. Put our quilt top on top, and I'm going to use my Teflon sheet. They also recommend that you use your sheets. Now, they have some kind of a non-stick ironing sheet that they try to sell you as like a package deal thing. Yeah, you can get it. That'll work too. But if you have a piece of Teflon sheet, you're totally fine. You don't need to get like the big package with it. Just the powder. That's really all you need. So here it is with the Teflon sheet. I went ahead, gave it a nice press with the iron, and let's see how it does. Okay. So I'm removing that. We're letting it cool down a bit. This is the first hearing about the powder. Learn something every day. Awesome, Cindy. Yeah, these are great alternatives. You know, it's just, I like the spray. I love KK 2000. It does a fantastic job, but sometimes you just don't want to deal with those fumes. And I'm in a really small room, so, you know, I don't like kind of inhaling all that stuff. So I think these are great alternatives. And I think for applique, it really does help that you can kind of reposition it so easily. So I really think that it is a great alternative. So it's all about options, right? We want to have all the options and know about the options, and then you get to pick for your project what is the best product for you to use. So that's why I like to just kind of show you guys everything that I know that's out there, and you can pick the product that will work for your project. So the more options you have, the better, right? Okay, so we've got this. It's nice and cooled now. So now let's try to turn this over and see. You can see here, of course, our backing is going to flop down, but you can see the top is adhered to the batting. And now let me try to give it a pull, and let me move over to the dust cam so you guys can see this. Move it over this way. This is the Bo-Nash now. So here it is, nice and stuck, and I'm going to try to give it a pull here, see how it does. And you can see it's very similar to Quilters Select, where you can see that the batting is nice and stuck to the fabric. And you can see as you're pulling it, you're pulling pieces of the batting. So in terms of a quilt sandwich, if you're doing that and you're using this for basting, it does a really good job in holding it together. And so I really like how it does it, and it doesn't have that stiffness feel to it at all as well, right? So it is really nice alternative here to not having those sprays all over the place. So that's a really nice job. And I think it did really well, very similar to Quilters Select. Is there a big difference? I mean, not that I can really tell from here. Now, I'm not going to spray the spray because I don't want to do the fumes all over the place, but I think a lot of you are really familiar with the sprays that are out there, either KK 2000 or June Tailor's. KK 2000 is a little more environmentally friendly than the June Tailor ones, because it does tell you right off the bat these are extremely flammable. The KK 2000 is not so much. So you know, you make your choices on what's available in your area and what sprays, if you're looking at sprays, what sprays you'd like better. But in terms of the powder, this is really just another alternative and some options that are out there if you don't want to deal with the sprays. Some people have, you know, health issues and they don't want to, you know, inhale those fumes. But if you are going to use the spray, again, make sure that you are in an open area. Are you going to powder the top to the batting? Yes, I am. That's what I'm going to be using for my project. I want to go ahead and I'm going to use the powders. I have to use Bo-Nash. I've used Bo-Nash for about 4 years now and love it. It's more permanent. Awesome. Yeah, you know, this is a really good project. The two of them are pretty good. They're both 2 ounces. Pretty close in terms of pricing on here. It is needle friendly. They will not gum up your needles at all, which is really nice. And what I really like about that, it does, at least for appliques, when you are comparing it to, like, let's say a heat and bond, it does really help your fabric to still stay nice and flowy, where the heat and bond makes it a little bit more stiff. Okay. Alrighty, so I think we're running out of time, and this thing flew by so fast. Let's jump over to our inspirational quote of the day. Okay, so for today's quote of the day is, sewing invites experimentation because the best results often come from trying something new. And that's what I was hoping for you guys to get today. You can absolutely try all kinds of new products that are out there, but you have to determine what's best for the project that you are working on. So whether you use your sprays, or if you use the powders, or maybe just using the good old-fashioned pins, you know, just try to select whatever the product is that's best for you and that will work for your project. Just remember, it's not just about quilt sandwiches. You can also use these for appliques and tons of other projects. So there are tons of options out there for all kinds of things. So make sure that you kind of experiment and see which one is the best one for you. Alrighty, guys, our hour is up, and I want to thank you guys for all of your support and continuing to support our channel. I hope you have a fantastic holiday today, and I hope that you guys have a great day as well. Thank you again for tuning in, and I hope to be crafting with you soon. Bye, everyone.
So long for now, so long. Glad you stayed a while. Hope you liked my crafting style. Hope I left you with a smile. By now, keep your mind and space clutter free. Hope your day is bright as can be. So long, my friends, till we craft once again. Bye now, stay crafty.